As we've talked about before, mindfulness is a quality of presence, being in tune with your experience, both internal experience and experience of the environment, moment to moment. That's the state of being mindful. Mindfulness practice is the fact that our mind wanders into daydreams of the past and future and elsewhere in the present. And when we recognize that, to bring our attention back to what we had chosen to focus on, what our anchor was. And we use different things. We use body, we use breathing, we use perceptions. And today we're going to mainly focus on body and breathing. Now, when we're under stress, our energy moves up in our body and faster. So what we want to do is breathe it down and get out of our head and into our body. So we will do 3 steps of that, and that is a body scan to free us from unnecessary tension, a dropping down into more into our body and out of our head, and then a connecting with the earth, a grounding practice. From that grounding practice, then we will, having become settled and centered and grounded, then we'll work with the breathing and awareness of the feeling of filling and emptying with the breath, and use that as our anchor for the present, our experience of the present moment. Then after we do that, we'll move to the environmental and the Maitri, the virtue of loving kindness practice. Okay, so this first section we do with our eyes closed. Now, we're practicing sitting up for the most part. If you need to lie down, that's okay. The tendency with this practice, if you're lying down, is to fall asleep. And if you're standing up, it's to move around. So what we want to do is take a neutral position of sitting up. If you're on a cushion without a back support, sit up as straight as you can. If you're in a chair, it's best to scoot your butt back a little bit against the bottom back of the chair, and then lean forward just a tiny bit so you're not leaning against the back, but sitting up. As we were told in school, sit up and pay attention. So have that posture, feet either flat on the floor or crossed gently in front of you. Ideally, you want your knees to be at the same level or lower than your hips. It puts less, that takes some stress off of your legs and lower back. Let your arms just hang to your sides. Naturally, leave your elbows where they are, and then swivel your hands up, palm down on your thighs just behind your knees. Or you can put them in your lap, palms up with hands crossed one over the other. I'll try and show you like that. And you have your thumbs gently touching as if you were holding a piece of paper between them, not pressing hard, but just gently touching. That's a tradition. These are 2 traditional postures. Let your eyes gently close. Be aware, starting at the top of your head, scan for any tension that you don't need to hold your posture. You want your posture to feel like your spine is erect and upright, but the rest of your body is just hanging from that spine, like the canvas hanging from a tent pole before it's pulled out and stretched out to form the tent. Let your chin tuck in just slightly, and do that by letting the back of your head extend up a little bit. Your chin will come in naturally, because if your head is tilted down, we tend to get sleepy. If your chin is floating up, we tend to get spaced out. So just let it be natural, but upright. And scan from the top of your head, forehead, around the back, your ears, eyes, cheeks, and jaw. Often we hold a little extra tension in our jaw, and one way to release that is an intensify and release practice. What we can do is just clench your jaw really tightly for about 3 seconds, 2, 3, and then just let it go. And you might find that your lips part a little bit. That's just fine. And you'll notice a softening, a relaxing of any tension. Notice your neck, shoulders, out to the points of your shoulders, your collarbone and shoulder blades, that whole area of neck and shoulders. And again, let's bring your shoulders up towards your ears and clench your neck and shoulders. 1002, 1003, and drop them. Just let them drop, don't push them down. Remember to keep breathing. Chest, upper back, upper arms, rib cage, lower back, stomach, and deep belly. Again, sometimes more tension in your deep belly than you realize. Again, tighten that, tighten your abs, clench tightly. 2, 3, let go. Take a nice deep breath, let it soften. Hips and pelvis, forearms, thighs, and hands, knees, ankles, calves, ankles, and feet. You can do the same thing with your legs, thighs, and calves. Just clench, 2, 3, let go. And your arms and hands, clench, 2, 3, let go. And we've swept out all the unnecessary tension. We usually think of our minds as being up in our forehead, up here behind our eyes. But our mind is wherever we place our awareness, so just let your awareness drop back and down to the back of the bottom of your skull, and gently float down the back of your throat, down the back of your chest, behind your heart, like a leaf gently settling to the bottom of a pond, down past your rib cage and solar plexus, down behind your navel, settling a few inches below your navel in the deep core of your torso. It's quiet down there. You can feel your lower torso gently moving as the breath comes in and out, like gentle currents at the bottom of that pond. With each out-breath, imagine that you're sinking down. Your whole body is sinking down through your seat, through the floor, and merging with the earth. Breathe out and merge with the earth. Imagining that your lower body is one with the earth, your upper body extending upward, majestically like a mountain. Let your breath come and go as it will. Be an observer more than a director. Coming and going, deeper or shallower, longer or shorter. Just notice the breath coming and going like the wind. And let your mind relax and be open to whatever you're going to experience without preconception or bias. Like the sky that spans and overlooks everything on the earth without preference. Body like a mountain, breath like the wind, mind like the sky. Now let your eyes gently open about halfway or 2/3 so that you're looking down under your eyelids at a 45-degree angle, approximately. Aware of the space that you're sitting in, Not fixating with your eyes on a point, but just softening your gaze so you're seeing the space that you're sitting in. You see your hands, you see your body, you see the space in front of you and to the sides. And tune your awareness into your bodily sensation, what it feels like as the breath comes in. Comes in cool and dry through your nostrils and feels like it's filling your torso. Especially if you let the breath come in through your nose, down the back of your windpipe, widening and deepening your back so that it feels like it's filling your torso. And that your torso empties. And that's what starts the breath going out, the torso contracting a little bit. And the breath going out, and if it goes out your nostrils, you can feel it going out warm and moist. Cool and dry coming in and filling you. A transition point, a gap, and going out, emptying from you, and going out warm and moist from your nostrils, out into the space you're sitting in. Make that the object of your attention with awareness of your posture, filling as the breath comes in, emptying as it goes out. You do that for a couple of minutes. And when your mind wanders, as it will, into a daydream of sorts, and you've lost track of the sensation of filling and emptying, just smile. Have a sense of humor about it. Go, oh, there I go again. And just think, that was a daydream. I'm already back. So return to my object of attention, the feeling of filling and emptying as the breath comes in and out. If you really wander deeply into a daydream, you may find that as you were thinking, your posture kind of degraded and tilted and tilted. When you realize it, you go, oh. So simply smile, reinvigorate your posture, and tune back into the feeling of filling and emptying. If you get sleepy, your eyes start to close, just raise your gaze. Look more straight ahead. Open your eyes wide for a second, and then resume the practice. If your mind feels scattered, you can sharpen the practice, and we can all do this, by noticing more detail in the process of filling and emptying. The start of the breath coming in through your nostrils, filling you, and the feeling in your torso of full. Then the start from your torso of emptying, the process of emptying, and at your nostrils, empty. Starting to fill, filling and full, starting to empty, emptying and empty. We'll do that for a minute or so. Remember to be more of an observer than a director, just noticing the breath starting to fill, filling and full in your body starting to empty, emptying, and breath emptying all the way out. Now raise your gaze, looking straight ahead. let go of attention to the body and the feeling of filling and emptying. Notice that the breath is going out into the environment. With each out-breath, the breath goes out and dissolves into the environment. It becomes part of the environment. So tune into your environment. Notice your field of vision. Soften your gaze and notice all the colors, shapes, and shades of light and dark you can see in your peripheral vision, in your field of vision. Now listen for sounds. The sound of my voice coming through your device. Sounds in the room. And listen for sounds in all directions as far away as you can hear. It's like you're relaxing your hearing and opening in all directions. Notice your body, the feeling of the air on the skin of your hands and face. The cool, dry air coming through your nostrils as you breathe in, warm and moist as you breathe out. Your torso moving as the breath goes in and out. The feeling of your sit bones pressing into the cushion that you're sitting on. Feet on the floor. You might even feel the internal sensation of your heart beating in your chest or the pulse in your neck, wrists, or fingertips. Notice what you're feeling. There might be smells in the room around you. You haven't really tasted anything, but that's another sense perception. And finally, notice your thoughts. We perceive our own thoughts. Notice how thoughts appear in your mind, as if on a screen or across the sky. But if your mind is like the sky, then those thoughts go by like clouds passing through. Sometimes they're faster, like a bird flying across the sky. Sometimes they're louder, like a jet plane flying right across in front of you. But your mind is the sky. The thoughts just come and go, like clouds on the sky. Sometimes they're thought of as like waves on the ocean of your mind. You have thoughts, but you are not your thoughts. They appear in your mind and then disappear. What you're seeing, hearing, feeling, smelling, or tasting all appear in your mind and then change. You can let your mind move through your sense perceptions, exploring, noticing that what you're seeing in your mind. What you're hearing in your mind. What you're thinking in your mind. Again, if one of those thoughts captures you, so that you find yourself, you're in the parade of thoughts rather than watching them go by, just smile and return to your body, the breath coming in and then the breath going out and mixing with the environment. Let your mind go out to your perception. Good. So now you can relax. It's funny to say that the idea of the meditation is to relax, but then we're done and we go, oh, now I can relax. I don't have to try so hard. And the funny thing is that one of my original main Tibetan meditation teacher, Chögyam Trungpa, he said, you try and try and try, and then when you hear the gong to end the meditation, you go, ah, and relax. And he said, there is your best meditation, after you hear the gong. After you say, ah, okay, I'm done. Ah, that was great. And then you've actually let go and relaxed. Now, if anybody has a question, what I'm going to do is you can find your chat box. You can just write the word question, and I'll unmute you, or I'll click the button for you to unmute. I'm not sure if I can unmute everybody. If I can, I'll try to do that. And you can just. So what I'm going to do is it says allow participants to unmute themselves. So if you have a question, just unmute yourself and go ahead and ask. And while you're thinking about that or trying to figure out how to unmute yourself, I mentioned that if you get sleepy, to sit up a little straighter, open your eyes a little wider, look straight ahead, and kind of wake yourself up that way. Now, the other thing that sometimes happens is we feel like we're so overwhelmed by the parade of thoughts that we go back to the breath for like one breath and boom, we're off again. So instead of fighting it, what you can do is make the thoughts the object of your meditation. Like we did in the second part of the session, the environmental practice, environmental mindfulness, that you make the thoughts the object and you say, okay, I'm just going to watch and notice the thoughts that come up. And the funny thing that happens to some people is they say, okay, go ahead, thoughts, come on. And nothing happens. So you make, it's called reverse meditation. Instead of trying to fight the thoughts, you make them the object of your meditation. The same thing happens if there are sounds going on that are distracting you. Just make that the object and just listen to those sounds and be present with them for as long as the mind stays with them. That second practice, the environmental meditation, the environmental mindfulness, you get to move through the different sense perceptions however you'd like to. It kind of does a little judo with your mind, jujitsu with your mind. It says, okay, the mind wants to wander, great, let's let it wander, but it'll wander in the present moment from one perception to the next. So Doug has a question, and let me see if I can find you on here to can you unmute yourself, Doug?
Great.
There you go.
Thank you. Hi, Dr. Joe. Last 2 weeks ago, you brought up, I think it was 2 weeks ago, mindfulness function versus awareness function.
Yes.
And I did a little, I just typed in difference between mindfulness and awareness. Mm-hmm. Awareness is deeper. It's more, is that right? That versus the mindfulness function, awareness is more a big mind.
Well,
is that right?
You could say that there are different ways that it's used. Remember, awareness is an English word, and in the tradition from Pali and Sanskrit, the translations are slightly different. But for this particular usage, it had to do with there are two Tibetan words. I don't know if I'm pronouncing them right, but Sheshin and Trenpa. And one is, you could say the mindfulness is the focused part, the attention to the detail. And the awareness is more the panoramic part. So in that sense, what you're saying is correct. It's kind of like the mindfulness is noticing the experiences moment to moment. The awareness is that background sense of presence. But the particular function of awareness that I was talking about was the monitoring function. It's kind of like mindfulness is noticing what's happening in the present moment. Awareness is a bigger background noticing of, am I present or am I someplace else? And it's what the awareness is what clues in when there's a gap in the daydream. You're going along, pa 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 pa. Oh yeah, this play was really great. I should write a play. Suddenly there's a gap. That's awareness happening, going, oh, I'm not with my breath anymore. The awareness that you're not with your breath anymore is the monitoring or awareness function. Then the mindfulness is the moving your mind back to that object of attention. So that's the distinction. Okay. Now, sometimes awareness is used to translate it as a panoramic awareness that's connected more with insight. The two Sanskrit words that are sometimes used are shamatha and vipassana. And vipassana is the sense of insight, but it's a insight, meaning looking in, and seeing clearly the nature of things. So mindfulness is the awareness of what's going on. Mindfulness is the attunement to what's going on. Awareness is, while you're attuned to what's going on, this sense of awareness is understanding the nature of what's going on. So you see your mindfulness is paying attention to your, let's say, your visual perceptions. The awareness function is knowing that those visual functions are somewhat illusory, that you're only seeing part of the picture, that your brain is filtering out the things it doesn't want to see and interpreting the patterns of light into what we would call things, when really it's just patterns of light hitting your eyes. We're getting a little deep on this one, but those are two ways that mindfulness and awareness are distinguished. Eric has a question. Let's have Eric unmute here. Good. And Lynn, we're trying to get her to unmute. Let me see what I can do here. But Eric, you go first.
Yeah, hi, Dr. Joe. I came across your work through Andrew Holochek's nightclub.
Yes.
And I really enjoyed enjoying Zen golf. I've been an athlete my whole life, and I'm also an avid lucid dreamer. And I've always been intrigued by the possibility of using that platform to practice sports or practice golf. Or I'm wondering if you have any methodology for working on that, or if you've worked with any of your students on something along those lines.
Well, that's interesting that you mentioned that. Andrew Holochek is a friend of mine. We've known each other for a long time. Both did the 3-year meditation retreats in Nova Scotia. And I've been helping him and co-teaching some seminars and sessions with him that Eric's referring to. And lucid dreaming is waking up in your dream without physically waking up, but you realize that you're dreaming while you're dreaming. And interestingly, just yesterday, Andrew and I were talking about doing a program together that we're going to call Lucid Sports, so that it applies some of the techniques that we use in our awareness of dream and of mindfulness and awareness in waking life, in the so-called waking life, and applying them to sports and physical activities. We can talk some more about that, Eric, if you stay on after this session, and we'll do that with golf. So,
sure. Yeah, that would be awesome.
Thank you so much. I don't want to miss doing the Maitri Bhavana practice. So we're going to do the last 5 minutes. Maybe we'll go a little past 10:45 Pacific time with this. So if we can mute, I'm going to mute everybody again. And for this practice, again, sit up in good posture. And you can either have your eyes open or closed, but what I'm going to do is ask you to imagine that in your heart center, now that's not your physical heart, but it's at your heart level, in the center of your chest. And imagine that there's a beautiful clear crystal made of light. A beautiful clear crystal made of light, any shape that you want. And this crystal has the healing and let's call it transformative property, a transformative power to transform anything negative into positive. What we're going to do is that with our in-breath, we're going to gather in negativity and particularly focus on illness and suffering, and particularly the suffering that goes with the illness, rather than the physical illness itself. And again, it can be physical or mental, but it's anguish. and suffering that goes with the illness. And as we breathe in, we can start with ourselves and any physical illness that you're feeling and any suffering that goes with it. Breathe that in to the crystal in your heart. It transforms, and as you breathe out, the crystal radiates cool moonlight that has a healing quality to it and a healthful quality to it. It's interesting, it's white, like our white blood cells, that it has a healing and immune quality to it. So that as you breathe in, you're gathering in illness into the crystal, you breathe out and you radiate out the cool moonlight of kindness, healing, and relief. Kindness, healing or health, healthiness, and relief. So that you gather in any illness or suffering you have into the crystal and radiate out as you breathe out, filling your whole being. The moonlight of kindness fills your whole being with healthiness and relief. And now traditionally we pick a person or persons that we know that are suffering from an illness. And imagine them in front of you. Again, eyes closed or open, whatever you'd like. And imagine that as you breathe in, you gather from them all of the suffering that goes with their illness. And you gather it into the crystal in your heart, and it transforms and radiates out as you breathe out this cool moonlight of kindness that fills their whole being with this moonlight of healthiness and relief. It's soothing. It soothes them. Breathe in, gather their suffering into the crystal. It transforms, radiate out that positive energy of soothing and health. Imagine them feeling better. Imagine them feeling healthier. Breathe in the suffering of their illness, radiate out soothing and healthiness. And as best you can, think of anybody that you know, beyond friends and family, anybody that you know that's suffering from illness. And in this time, you can anybody you've seen on TV, anybody you've heard of suffering from this illness, and gather that illness from them. Gather the suffering that goes with that into the crystal in your heart. It doesn't affect you. The crystal just transforms it and radiate out instead, filling all of their beings with soothing moonlight of healthiness. And as best you can, imagine all the beings suffering from this terrible virus, and gather in that suffering into the crystal in your heart. It transforms. There's no limit to the power of this transformative crystal. It's made of light. It radiates out cool moonlight to the whole world and soothes and relieves the suffering and the illness and generates healthiness to all beings in the world suffering from this virus or any other illness. And we'll do that just for another minute or two. You can do it close to one or two people. You can do it to more. You can do it to the whole world, whatever you feel drawn to right now. Breathe in and gather the suffering. It transforms in the crystal. Breathe out and radiate out a cool moonlight of kindness that fills all beings with soothing relief and healthiness. And to finish, I'll recite a little aspiration. May all beings have happiness and the root of happiness. May all beings, including ourselves, may we and all beings be free from suffering and the root of suffering. May we all access a great joy that transcends any suffering. May we all have the equanimity that is free from attachment, aversion, and prejudice. And now, what I like to do to finish the session is dedicate the benefit of what we did, again, out to all beings, to share whatever benefit, because it's much more powerful if we share it with others than just do it for ourselves. So you can repeat after me, and I'll repeat a second time so we're doing it together. May the practice I have just done, repeat that, may the practice I have just done, be of benefit to others, repeat, be of benefit to others, as well as myself, and repeat that, as well as myself. And of course, if you're feeling particularly generous or want to cultivate that generosity, you can say, may the practice I've just done be of even more benefit to others than to myself. So thank you so much. I appreciate it.